So today in the convy we are going to be stripping and cleaning the cast iron. Why? Because we use them every day and treat them like crap. I did a lot of research into how to do this, and I think we can do it with some of the stuff we already have lying around the convy. Like our cast steel soap, and one of these copper scrub pads. This one's used, but we're going to use a fresh one. And to be honest, I've never done this before. I've never cleaned cast iron. Well, I've cleaned it, but I've never stripped it and re-seasoned it. So you're going to go on this journey with me and find out what works and what doesn't. Let's do it. So that cast steel soap ain't working. I'm not surprised, but let's try some regular dish soap, something with some grease fighting power. Well, the dish soap certainly works a lot better, but it's really not getting it down to the bare metal like we need it. Let's see if we can get some power tools in here. It's working now. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's finish this one off. That skillet's down to the bare metal. We're going to take it back inside and use something a little bit finer than that copper pad to really get that last layer of oil off. I think my father-in-law has some steel wool. You won't mind if I use that, right? So pretty much got all that grease scrubbed off there now. We're going to give it a white napkin test, dry it off with a white napkin, and hopefully that should come out mostly clean. That didn't come out mostly clean. Let's give it another round with the steel wool. I'm going to call that good enough. We've got 5 more of these things to do. Now we're going to burn off the rest of this water because we want it to be completely dry. These things rust super quick when it's just bare metal. So any little water, if that dries on there naturally, it's going to turn to rust. That rust is then going to get baked into the pan, and we don't want that to happen because we were going to have to do this process over again. So we're going to burn it off and just do the same to the rest of our cast iron. This only took like half a day. We got like 6 more of these things to do. No problem. Now that those cast irons are all stripped to the bare, we are going to put a thin layer of oil on there. Now in my reading, it was best to use flaxseed oil. Apparently it just works better. We don't have flaxseed oil, mainly because that crap is expensive, and we use olive oil for pretty much everything. So guess what? These things are getting an olive oil coat, and then they're going into the oven. So the reason we're baking these is because that oil is going to soak into those little pores in the cast iron, and then baking it is going to seal it in. Right, now if you don't know this about regular cast iron, you're supposed to do this after every time you wash it. Not the oven part, the oil part. You're supposed to put a thin layer of oil on it, put it back on the stove, and burn that layer of oil off. And it does the same thing as right here. It keeps that protective layer, it keeps things from sticking, and it helps your cast iron last longer. It keeps you from having to clean your cast iron with a wire brush every time you use it. Hopefully. Now when you put your cast iron in the oven, make sure you put it upside down. This keeps the surface smooth. It doesn't allow the oil to pool up in one spot, lets it run off. That way you maintain a smooth surface. Cleaning these cast irons took a lot longer than I thought it was going to, and now we're running out of time. We have 6 of these to get through. I can only fit 4 in the oven at a time. They take an hour to bake, and we have to get all this done before our in-laws get home because we're using their kitchen. What you're supposed to do is put them in the oven for an hour, and then turn the oven off and let the oven cool down with the cast iron in it. That is not going to happen. We do not have the time. So my plan, we're going to take them out of the oven, put another layer of oil down there while they're still hot. Hopefully, these cast irons are going to be 500 degrees when they come out of the oven. Hopefully that's going to be enough to just bake it off right on the cast iron. So we're going to take those out, put the other set in, oil them up, and see how that goes. Cleaning these took so much longer than I thought it was going to. I think it took me like a day to get all of them stripped down to the metal, and then a second day to bake all of them. If you're going to clean your cast iron, I recommend getting that wire brush and that steel wool. Those things probably worked the best. That wire brush got the metal down so good, and thankfully my father-in-law had one on hand. That way we were able to get going without much delay. And doing 6 cast irons by hand, my fingers were raw just using that copper scrub pad. So that wire brush really stripped the cast iron to the bare fast. If you're cleaning just one cast iron pan, I recommend getting one of those wire brushes. It's only a couple of bucks on Amazon, and it saved at least an hour of work. But also get some of that steel wool. That worked great after that wire brush to really get into those fine cracks. I would have kept going with the steel wool and probably would have had a shiny silver cast iron using that steel wool, but having to get through 6 of them, just had to, pick and choose your battles. Now, not letting the cast iron cool down in the oven, taking them out, putting another layer of oil on them while they were still at like 500 degrees, I think that worked okay. I may have to go through with a couple of our cast irons and do another round of baking. We'll give it a couple of weeks of use, see how it goes. Granted, I'm no expert in this, but it didn't seem to ruin the cast iron, and really that's all we're looking to do, is not ruin the cast iron. Honestly, this method, I recommend it. Saved you some time at least. Although if you don't have a whole bunch of these to get through, just put it in the oven, let it cool off, do it the right way. I don't see, how that could be any worse, obviously. So links in the description for all of our equipment that we used. All of our cast irons, we're going to have links down there too. Affiliate links, so go check it out if you buy anything. It will help out the channel without any cost to you. But don't just take our word for it. Go out there, check it out for yourself. Let us know in the description how it went for you. See you next time.